Picture this: 1959, the heart of the Soviet Union. A group of 9 experienced hikers, all students and engineers, set off on a winter expedition into the brutal Ural Mountains. They were young, fit, and masters of survival. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, was only 20. Their goal was a peak named Otorten, but to get there, they had to cross a mountain pass on the slopes of Kolatsietko, a name that ominously translates from the local language to Dead Mountain. They were supposed to send a telegram when they finished their route. The telegram never came. Weeks later, a search party finally located their last campsite. What they found was the beginning of one of the most chilling and enduring mysteries of the 20th century. Their tent was collapsed and half buried in snow. But the most disturbing detail was that it had been violently slashed and ripped open, not from the outside, but from the inside. This wasn't a random act. It was an act of pure, desperate panic. Whatever they faced inside that tent was so terrifying that unzipping the door was too slow. They had to cut their way out to escape into the unforgiving night. And what a night it was. The temperature had plunged to around -30 degrees Celsius, or -22 Fahrenheit. A death sentence without proper gear. Yet, when the search party followed the footprints leading away from the tent, they found something baffling. The hikers hadn't just abandoned their shelter. They had abandoned their survival. Heavy coats, warm boots, and all their supplies were left behind. The footprints in the snow showed they fled in socks, some barefoot, some with a single shoe. They were almost completely undressed for the Arctic conditions. It was a desperate, illogical flight from an unseen terror. The first 2 bodies were found about a mile away, down the slope, under a large cedar tree. They were stripped down to their underwear. The remains of a small, hastily built fire lay nearby. They had died of hypothermia. But the branches of the cedar tree above them were broken, up to 5 meters high. It looked as if they had frantically tried to climb it, perhaps to get a better view of something, or to escape from whatever was on the ground below. Further up the slope, between the cedar tree and the camp, 3 more bodies were discovered, including that of the group leader, Igor Dyatlov. Their positions suggested they were desperately trying to crawl back to the relative safety of the tent, but the lethal cold claimed them before they could make it. They, too, had frozen to death. At this point, it seemed like a tragic but understandable accident. A group of hikers, perhaps disoriented, fled their tent and succumbed to the elements. But the discovery of the final 4 hikers would change everything. It took 2 more months for searchers to find them, buried under 13 feet of snow in a ravine, not far from the cedar tree. These 4 were dressed better than the others, seemingly having taken clothes from their deceased friends. But it wasn't the cold that killed them. Their injuries were catastrophic. One had a crushed chest, another a severely fractured skull. The forensic examiner compared the force required to inflict these wounds to that of a high-speed car crash. But here's the truly bizarre part. There were no external signs of trauma, no cuts, no bruises, no soft tissue damage. It was as if they had been crushed by an immense, invisible pressure from within. And then, there was the most gruesome detail of all. One of the women, Ludmila Dubinina, was found missing her tongue, her eyes, and part of her lip. While some investigators argue this could be the result of natural decomposition and scavenging animals in the watery snowmelt of the ravine. For others, it remains a haunting piece of an already horrific puzzle. How could these internal injuries have happened with no external fight, no outward wounds? The official Soviet investigation was bafflingly brief and secretive. After a few months, the case was abruptly closed. The final report concluded that the hikers had died from a compelling natural force. That's it. No explanation, no details. Just a vague, mysterious phrase. The files were then classified and sent to a secret archive, sealing the mystery for decades. A compelling natural force. What could that possibly mean? This unsatisfying conclusion only fueled speculation, especially when more strange details began to surface. Small, but significant, traces of radiation were found on some of the hikers' clothing. Why? There was no known source of radiation in the area. Family members who attended the funerals later claimed that the victim's skin had a strange orange or deep tan color, and their hair had turned prematurely gray. And then there were the eyewitnesses. Another group of hikers, camped about 30 miles south of the incident, reported seeing strange, bright orange spheres moving silently in the sky on the very same night the Dyatlov group perished. These odd clues have given rise to a storm of theories over the last 60 years. The most accepted scientific explanation is an avalanche, specifically a rare slab avalanche, which could have struck the tent, causing the internal injuries and forcing the group to flee. But this doesn't fully explain why they ran so far downhill instead of digging for their supplies, or the radiation, or the lights in the sky. Other theories dive headfirst into the unknown. Could they have stumbled upon a secret Soviet military weapons test? A test of some kind of radiological or concussive weapon would explain the secrecy, the radiation, and the bizarre internal injuries. Some theories point to the supernatural, suggesting the hikers were attacked by a yeti or the local region's legendary mink, a wild man of the forest. And of course, there are the theories involving extraterrestrials, suggesting the orange spheres were UFOs that either accidentally or intentionally caused the hikers' deaths. To this day, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains unsolved. Each theory seems to answer one question while leaving 10 more in its place. Was it a tragic convergence of natural events, a military cover-up, or something far, far stranger? We are left with 9 frozen bodies, a tent cut open from the inside, and a single chilling conclusion from the original investigators. They were overcome by a compelling, unknown force. What that force was, we may never know. What do you think happened on that frozen mountainside? Let me know your best theory in the comments below. And if you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. Thanks for watching.